extra, read all about it. Get your copies while they last. Stop the presses.
And now for something completely different.
Are you ready for a little truth? Are we not entertained? Wisdom is the proper use of knowledge and experience. There are no safe spaces here. The truth shall make you free. It's showtime! So you want the truth, but can you handle the truth? Well, here's another fine mess you've gotten us into. Now that's entertainment. Enlighten me a little. What you say is quite logical. And what did we learn? Prepare yourself for a little sensory overload. I came here for the truth. 47 years ago, stand by the roll show intro. Roll show intro in 3, 2, 1, go.
This is the Craig L. Hayes Show.
Hello, America, family, friends, and listeners all around this planet we call home. This is the Craig L. Hayes Show, and I am Craig L. Hayes. Today's date is December 6th, 2024. Well, let me think. What are some topics we could talk about today? I actually just jotted down a couple real quick, topic-wise, what we can have a little discussion about. Wrap up this week. It's Friday. Everybody's working for the weekend, including me. Completely different than what I used to do in my past life. But that's a different story, and one day I'm going to talk about it. One of the things I was talking about yesterday is about the role of church within our what we want to call our republic, within the government. We discussed a few things that showing that, the government has absolutely no role whatsoever in church, but people in church can have roles within government, and the church can actually talk about government, even though they're not supposed to, I guess, because of some IRS kind of crappy rule that they tried to make up to silence people. Once again, the government silencing people if they happen to talk out about things of the day, unless they declare it to be on some kind of moral. But this only goes one way. If you're in a conservative church, if you're a white conservative Baptist church, you can lose your 501c3 rating, your tax-exempt status, and all that. If you say, people, we need to get out, we need to vote conservative, we need to vote Republican, we need whatever you may say. But if you're a black Baptist church somewhere in the South, or Jesse Jackson or Al Sharpton and stuff like that, you get out there and you talk about it at church that you need to get out and support Democrats. That's perfectly fine. Nothing will ever happen. See, once again, we have a two-tiered system in this country. We show that the deep state and the Democrats who run a lot of these things make sure that any kind of opposition to them is squashed by the government or any other type of legislative or judicial rule that they can apply to you. They do not like free speech. They don't like religion. They don't like a lot of things that go on in this thing. But anyways, we're not here to talk about some of that stuff. We'll do that another time because I have plenty to talk about religions, and I like talking about religions. I was always told you should never talk about religion, politics, and other little things like that because people get too divisive. Well, it's too bad. We are a divisive and divided country because we have people who are Democrats, communists, Marxists, socialists, hate America, want to destroy this country, don't believe in the Constitution or the founding documents of our nation, hate our founding fathers and anything in the history and the true history of our nation. And then we have the people like me who are constitutional conservatives that want to uphold the laws of the land, the Constitution, love this nation, love living here in this country. And we want to fight for the Constitution, freedom, liberty, and all those things. So you can see that we're always going to have this conflict and be divided as long as we have people who want to destroy the country, the Democrat Party and some Republican rhinos, and the people like me who want to take and uphold the Constitution and want to defend it. But anyhow, let's move on to one question I forgot to ask, and I thought about this last night. And the question is, and we need to direct this, and we need to look at our church, whatever our church it may be that we attend, and ask a simple question and look at it. Does our church, your church, speak out on issues of the day? Does your church, from the pulpit, speak out on issues of the day? You know, we wouldn't have this nation if it wasn't for the Black Robe Regiment, which is in 1775 and 6, the ministers of the churches spoke out against the oppression of England. And the churches, the ministers, were the ones that rallied the people, the God-fearing, freedom-desiring people, to take and fight the British. Those people who rose to the call, who stood up and decided they were going to fight for the cause of liberty, would be our modern-day constitutionalists, our conservatives, our libertarians. A third of the country, if not more, was perfectly happy being subjects of King George and liked a totalitarian government, an authoritative government, and were happy to live under that kind of a political system. Those would be our Democrats, Marxist socialists, etc. today. The middle of the road people, and there was almost a third of the people that didn't care how it went either way. Those are the ones that really disgust me. Jesus said, "Be hot or cold, for if you're lukewarm, I'll spew you out of my mouth." Paraphrasing, of course. Lukewarm, don't care. Well, as long as nobody bothers me, I'll just go along my life. And, if it's free, that's cool. But if we have to live under this system, well, that's fine. I'll just keep going what I'm doing. But I just don't want to stir the pot. I'm afraid. So if you really look at it, our nation was founded by about 30% of the people who actually lived here, who fought in the war. The rest of them were basically loyalists to King George and cowards. Do you see that today? I kind of do. I see that very much today. We have very few people in this country who actually want to stand and fight and fight and fight, as Donald Trump said. Fight, fight, fight. I want to be the guy that stands and fights. I want to be the guy that stands up and brings attention and knowledge to people so they can make their decision and hopefully fight too. That they will fight for freedom, that they will long to have that desire of freedom burning inside them. But I don't know what that takes to do with some people. We've had wars where we've sent people off to war. World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, where people of both parties went off to fulfill their nation's request and desire to beat tyranny all around the world. Would we have that today? Would we have people that if something horrible happened in this nation, would they go and sign up at the draft board and say, get me into the fight, let's fight these people? I'm not sure. Once again, I think you'd get 20 to 30% of the nation who would run down there because they're going to take and fight for freedom. But I think the rest of the country would go, maybe we'll sit it out, and maybe we don't really care. I don't know. I just don't know. Anyhow, churches, speaking out on the topics of the day. Does your church speak out against slavery? We'll just go down these different things here. Do they speak out against this whole LGBTQ freak show thing that's going on out there? I'm perfectly fine with a church sit there and saying, people, if you want to live your life a certain way, then do so. But leave the children alone. Leave others alone that don't believe like you do. Leave others out of your garbage. Are they standing up for the moralities and for the teachings of Jesus Christ? Are they standing with the teachings of Jesus Christ, or are they becoming weak, homogenized? They don't want to rattle it. They're afraid they're going to lose a couple people in their congregation. If that's what you're afraid of, if that's what you are afraid of by preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ, or preaching the true word from the Torah, or preaching, I don't know what you would say, from the other religions, their teachings, Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, if you're not teaching right from wrong, why are you up there? Are you doing this just so you can make a paycheck? Or do you actually believe it? Or do you just want to take and get along, and you're afraid a couple people may walk away and you don't want people being offended by what you're saying? You know, Jesus offended a lot of people. Sadducees, Pharisees, all these other people. He paid for it. They killed him. He had to be killed, had to be sacrificed, but at the same time, he didn't go there to be buddy-buddy with people. He went there to teach his gospel, teach his Father's gospel, that we call it the gospel of Jesus Christ, but it is the gospel of God our Father. And people got upset. So be it. We need to be in churches, and I don't care what church you're going to, that preach the gospel in its purest form they can preach. And preach the consequences of not following the gospel. And quit worrying about the honors of man and concentrate on the love of God. I have real issues with a whole bunch of different churches going on right now, and sometimes I wonder a little bit about the ones that I go to. Who's going to be the leader? Who's going to be the leader of the Black Robe Regiment that goes out there and leads by example and doesn't care and takes the threats of the IRS and federal government to court and says, we're going to preach rights and wrongs that are going on in this country. We're going to take stands. And if you try to silence us by saying you'll take away our 501c3, we'll see you in court, in the Supreme Court even. But anyway, it's just disappointing in sometimes of how things go. Well, I got about 13 minutes in this episode here to discuss about 5 more things I jotted down. Let me see what else we got. Here's a question you can ask yourself. Who am I? This can be tied into what we're talking about religions and your ministers and churches talking about the events of the day. Who are you? Who am I? The question should always be, look in that mirror. Look in the mirror right there. Look in that mirror and say, who am I? Do I stand for anything? Or do I wet my finger, put it in the air, and see which way the wind blows and say, that's the direction I think I need to go? Or are you focused on the direction you're supposed to go and you work towards that every day and endure to the end, till the very end? These are questions we all need to ask ourselves. You know, we look around and we see these things going on in this country, and we're shocked by them. We see the things going on in the world, and we go, oh, that we could live in times of our fathers when things were so much better. I don't know. Let me see. During the Depression, when FDR made sure everybody stayed in poverty for 12, 15 years, were those better times than they are today? I don't think so. Was World War II, people dying by the millions, was that a better time? No. How about during Korea in the 50s? How about Vietnam during the 60s? How about all the crap that went on during the 70s? We tried to fix things in the 80s. There is no such thing as good times of our past. We want to remember the good times, but they were probably pretty dang rough at times. That we're getting to see so many things that are bad today is because of one simple thing: a 24-hour news cycle with all these stations reporting on it all around the world. We used to not hear about all the stuff going on around the world. We do now. Should that change the way we feel about the times we lived in? And just keep on making us think that if we lived in times of old, things would be so much better? How about if you want to live out in the 1800s, you want to live as a cowboy? I don't want to live in any of those times. Those times were nasty. People didn't take baths and showers, and sanitation was horrible. Gee, gross. Don't want any part of that life. I'm just amazed that the species has continued as bad as people smelled, how they wanted to be around each other even. But that's a different story. I'll tell you right now, I can only say that I am so blessed by God the Father and His Son Jesus Christ to live today at this time on this world, in this nation, which is the greatest nation God has ever created for mankind. Think about that, the 5, 10, 15, 20, 30,000 year history of man being here, 100,000 years. I don't care which numbers you want to put on it. The jury's still out on all that. But to think about this, that we are living in the nation that is the most blessed, free, etc., that has ever been here on earth. That is amazing. And if you can't just sit there and think about that real quick and go, wow, it's amazing being here and being at this time in this nation, just living in this nation at any time during our history is a blessing, let alone living now and seeing all these marvels that have been happening. My great-grandmother, she went from horse and buggies to the Model T to watching a man walk on the moon in her lifetime. That is so amazing. That is just mind-blowing. Who could have predicted that through the history of man? Who would have said back 200, 500, whatever years ago, there's going to come a time when you're going to go from riding a horse for your main transportation, because, there were no real roads out here in the West, good roads, to driving an old clunker Model T, to sitting in front of a TV and watching someone walk on the moon in your lifetime. Yeah, they would have put you in an asylum in 2 seconds. But it happened. It happened because this is the nation God created for us to live to our potential and have government not interfere with that. Though the last 100 years we've been watching government interfere more and more. Thank heavens we've got a man like Donald Trump that's going to help us take and put that to rest, clean out the government, shut down all kinds of places, and restore freedom. Let man's freedom to pursue his happiness be unleashed, and you're going to watch this country just explode in prosperity. We are so blessed just to be able to be here in this country at this time. And because of that, we have an obligation. We just don't receive blessings. Blessings don't come without some kind of obligation. The obligation that we have as Americans is to stand for liberty, stand for the Constitution, stand for freedom. Do not let those forces, the leftists, those who believe in Karl Marx's ideology, which is the most evil and corrupt ideology ever perpetrated on man, to be your foundation or your belief system. I believe in our Constitution. I believe in the Declaration of Independence. I believe our founding fathers were the most brilliant people that our Father in heaven ever put together in one place. And he did so we could have this freedom and liberty. So, stand and be blessed. Stand. It's not comfortable. It's not easy. In Sunday school class, we used to have a song that the words were, "Do what is right, let the consequence follow." That should be our national motto. We will do what is right, let the consequences follow. But along with that, doing what's right, we receive the blessings of God Almighty, and we'll receive his blessings too. Doing what's right is not a punishment. Doing what's right can be a blessing. And it also can be rough and tough and hard on you. Stand up for truth. Stand up for freedom. Stand up for liberty. But stand. With that being said, we'll call that enough for one episode of this show. And we're going to think about a couple things and do another episode or so today. Until then, Talbot, take it away.
This is the Craig L. Hayes Show.